Episode of 1320 Stuff. My name is Pastor Darryl Scarborough. I am the senior pastor of Boss Church in Sacramento, California, but I am also just a regular dude. And so you will get the regular side of me in these conversations as we go forward. And I'm so excited as we start this season of 1320 Stuff to introduce two new co-hosts that are with me. Actually, I'm not introducing them. They're going to introduce themselves, and then we'll circle back around. So, lady Kent.
My name is Lindsey. I'm very excited to be here with Pastor Darryl.
D.
I am originally from Chicago.
Bishop.
We're not going to do Bishop. We're just going to D. Maybe Pastor D.
Apostle. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I'm originally from Chicago. I currently live in Phoenix. I moved there for work. I've been there about 2 years. It's terrible. I would not recommend. I miss Chicago. I know Darryl from Chicago. We went to the same church. I grew up in Salem. That's how we met, and he moved out here recently. Or how long have you been out here?
Very long.
Okay.
Very long. Like 3.5 years.
Oh, okay. Nothing. Anyway, I moved to Phoenix. I work for a tech company in special investigations. I manage a team. Very interesting work, and I think it gives me insight to just the mind and the different ways that people show up in the world, and I love that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to bring that thought process to 1320 Stuff, and to be on the couch with these two guys.
She actually is the one who works for cheaters. So she trains women on how to investigate their significant other to find all the stuff.
If you gotta investigate, baby, you got to go. Okay,
don't lose your job. That's okay. You know what? She's brilliant. So watch your back. She knows everything.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is R.J. Carter, born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Again, I met Reverend Darryl. I call him Reverend Darryl, even though he's a pastor, but that's his name. Prophet Scarborough at Salem Baptist Church, along with Lindsey. I work for a major healthcare organization. I've been there for about 14 years. I also sit on the board of directors for the 100 Black Men of Chicago, which is a mentoring organization. I'm just really excited to be a part of 1320 Stuff. I don't have any catchphrases or anything like that. I'm just going to throw out some jokes and make light of every deep situation they decide to talk about. And that's pretty much it. But I do have a question for Reverend Darryl before we move forward, because I know we're going to get this question. So, Prophet Scarborough,
thank you.
What is 1320 Stuff?
Oh, so I've been asked that before. What's 1320 Stuff? The name actually was created by one of our musicians here, a guy named Jerome, came up with the name. And we have sworn that we will never tell anybody what it means until the actual last episode airs in life. So maybe that might be in life. 5 years from now, it might be, who knows. But you'll find out then. But I will say this. If you ever guess what 1320 Stuff means, you will win something. So, yeah. Let me say this to everybody that is part of Boss Church and those of you that have watched the previous version of this show. Say this, and it'll be the only time I'm going to say it. We're not going to say it every episode. But I want you guys to understand that this show is the way we target a generation of young adults, young men and women who do not attend church, reach a generation of people who want to have hard, deep conversations, but just simply don't find that church is the place to have those conversations, will never come into a church. And so in this role, in this space, I'm not necessarily a pastor. We are all just young people who grew up in the church, who love the Lord, but we have very differing perspectives on so many things. So you're going to get the actual real conversations that we'll have. when we get into it, when we disagree, the shows in which Lindsey storms off in anger, and RJ calls her an angry black woman behind her
I
back.
was about to say, this is feeling a bit
yeah.
sexist. Why I gotta be the one to
See,
storm
I
off?
mean, cause he gonna crack jokes and I'm cool. So see, even stuff like that, we're not gonna edit it out. We're just gonna be ourselves. One of the reasons that I asked them to be a part of this is because they're highly intelligent, wise, and they say what they think and what they feel. And it's gonna bring a nice little, shift in some conversations where you don't get bogged down by what the pastor said, but we'll be open. We're going to have guests that are political people. We'll have guests that are not Christians. We'll have guests that are rappers and singers of all different types of backgrounds. We're going to do whole segments on music and where music intersects with life, and it won't all be church songs. So those of you that are super, I just want to hear, no, this is not Bible study. So I need you to take your pearls off so you ain't got to clutch them every episode. Somebody might say a word that does not fit with your view of what pure and holy conversation should be. But again, this is not for you. This is to reach the unchurched, is to reach young people who want to know more and hear the heart. And so we thank you so much for tuning in. 1320 stuff. Hope you enjoy the ride.
So we just celebrated Juneteenth for the first time. I feel like everybody was celebrating it. So I'm just trying to see, if we celebrated Juneteenth, does that mean that we can't or we should not celebrate the 4th? What y'all think?
Well, I don't even really feel like we celebrate the 4th of July. We always just looking for an opportunity to just turn up and do stuff. We go buy new outfits, we barbecuing. It's just a way to do something. And so we use that as an opportunity to do that, because honestly, are we as black people really free? Like, do we have our independence? I don't think so. But more importantly, if Juneteenth started back in 1865, right? Something like that. Then why is it now in 2020 that we're just getting, like, it's now become a big thing? Like, I just turned 40. I ain't never celebrated Juneteenth, so I had to go back and do a little bit of Google research to really understand what it is, which means we as a people haven't done a good job in educating our young people growing up to really understand what Juneteenth is and the significance of it and why we're celebrating. But now with all of these recent killings, it's like, now it's a big thing. And, so that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I didn't know about Juneteenth until probably 4 years ago. And that's because I have a radical black friend who cussed me out because I didn't know. One year he just was like, man, what you doing for Juneteenth? I'm like, I thought he was being funny. Like, bro, what you talking about? And he let me have it. And so I knew about it then. I think part of the thing with black folk is that 4th of July you were raised, it's just the day you shoot firecrackers. It's the day
Yeah.
there was never a long conversation about what the 4th of July meant. And so I think, me personally, going forward, I would probably celebrate Juneteenth and honor the 4th of July, because one just is more impactful. So I guess the way I look at it is kind of like birthdays. My birthday, I'm kicking it. I'm celebrating. It's my birthday. But I got a relationship with y'all. So on your birthday, I'm not going to dismiss it. I'm going to hang with you. We're going to kick it out. But it's your birthday. And I think that is kind of a way to look at it. But I'm sure somebody would say, that's being divisive. So I don't know.
Well, I think that to your point about how long ago Juneteenth started, I think black liberation has never really been celebrated because our liberation has been a slow build. Like, when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, people weren't free in the true sense of what freedom is. To remove chains isn't to really free people, right? We didn't have anything. And we also had to think about years and years and generations of captivity. So when you do free these people, they don't have anything to reflect on. Like, okay, this is how life was for us when we were free. We have no concept of freedom. So it was just, okay, now you can go and do nothing because you have no education, you have no money, you have no land, but now you should be free. So we weren't celebrating liberation because we had to learn what liberation was. Then we had to fight for it as we continue to fight for it. So I think that we're finally in a space where we do want to celebrate that, because we see where we came from, and now we're learning about the history. So for me personally, I've known about Juneteenth for years, but nobody else is really on it, and I'm trying to party. So, yeah, here we go with the 4th. But for me, I feel like moving forward, I think it should be a celebration of culture and liberation, and we should, buy black, and we should pour into the community during Juneteenth. It should be a celebration in that way. And the 4th, we're still about to party. I mean, we could say let's not do it, but it's a day off, and we're still
it's COVID
about to get
so
lit.
You ain't got nothing to do anyway.
Oh, I've been out here in these streets.
Well, me too, a little bit. But how about we start with making it an official holiday? If it's a holiday,
True.
you have the day off. And I don't know many, if any, organizations that give their employees the day off for Juneteenth. I'm sure most of them just now really finding out what Juneteenth is, and now they're trying to act like they really care.
Yeah.
So I guess their organizations don't get looted.
So, so Nike
Factual.
this year closed for Juneteenth. But I know they're one of millions of organizations. I don't know what anyone else did. I didn't hear anyone else doing that. I think part of the thing is, my concern is this is all going to fade away. Yeah. It is all symbolic. So to say make Juneteenth a national holiday, yeah, somebody can put that up before the government and have that question out there. Is that actually going to happen? I don't believe that. I mean, essentially, we are living in a reality that is similar to Texas right after he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. It was 2.5 years before Texas slaves knew that had even been in law. They didn't know for 2.5 years.
And can we really talk about the way that they shape history to say that they didn't know because news didn't travel? Come on. They didn't know because they were a cash cow and you didn't want to let them go. The way that, if you read it, if you look it up, they shape it to say word hadn't reached Texas. What? No. You think these people knew that they could be free, and then you think that they just didn't know? No, they knew. And they didn't let them go because they made a lot of money off of them. And I think that is so important. We don't ever get told history the right way because it's so ugly that they have to shape it in a way like, oh, they didn't know. And then the soldiers came and then they were told, and woo, hurrah, we're free. No, you knew and you didn't tell them because you were able to go to 2 more harvests. You were able to have them toil that land for 2 more years and reap what they what they done. It was money. And so I feel like where we are today, I do think it's very likely, if we don't continue on this fight, that we could forget. But it does feel different this time. Like, it doesn't feel the same to me. It feels the same.
It feels the same.
But you know what? It feels. I think it feels different this time. But if you look back over the course of the past 3 weeks, we've kind of let up a little bit. Everybody's just trying to go back into their normal routine of what they were doing prior to all of the George Floyd and COVID and all of that. And I think that's the problem we have in the black community, is there's no consistency or longevity when we're fighting for certain rights and certain things. And so we get tired.
What? Deacon curse word. Damn. How long do we have to? I mean, like, it's exhausting to be black. It's like we have to keep fighting. We have to keep. I mean, it's like we don't get to have an existence of just joy. It's this roller coaster of horrible life, and then okay, let's have a little fun this week. We have to keep fighting. In my opinion, white people need to be doing more work. It isn't on us.
I agree, but I think
what more work you want them to do?
To me, okay, let's take the workplace for instance. As a black person, I don't feel like every time somebody says something inappropriate or somebody uses a microaggression, I have to be the one to speak up. If you want to be an ally as a white person, if somebody says something inappropriate, you speak up, because I'm going to automatically be the angry black person, or I'm overly sensitive. White people they benefit from privilege, whether or not they want to accept it, whether or not they're actively racist. You are benefiting from this social construct. So you need to, if you want to be an ally, you need to speak out. Why do I have to bring it up every time something ain't right?
I think a lot of times it is devil's advocate for a hot second. Some of that is if a person is not the one that's been offended, it's hard for them to understand the offense. So how do you want me to speak up for you when 98% of the time, I make up statistics, they don't even know what happened?
Well, you need to educate yourself. That's another problem. I ain't running around here doing Black history lessons for white people. Why do I need to explain to you what this is and what this isn't? This is a problem for everybody. And I don't understand.
Elaborate. Why is it a problem for everybody?
Because if we're comfortable, if I'm comfortable, that's why we were having a conversation prior to this. If I know that with immigration, there are kids, there are children that are in these camps that are not being treated right. If I don't make that my issue, then in 10 years, what if it becomes a Black issue? If it can be an issue somewhere, then it can one day become your issue.
It's a hard thing for a person to see past their own world. It is difficult for a person to say there are kids suffering in some camp down at the border of Mexico while looking at their kids at the kitchen table doing their homework and okay. It is hard for them to push past the comfort of their reality to dig into the discomfort of someone else's. Most people aren't wired in a way that their love for humanity extends beyond the people that they live with. So that is a hard thing often, I think, to get past. And the other thing, you brought this up, it is the financial side of it. Because to vote in a way that helps them, that I have no relationship with, can impact my taxes, can impact where I live, can impact the amount I have to pay, the rates I get on my loan. That's a big ask. And so when you go back to even Juneteenth, I don't think, it don't feel different to me. It feels like everything is symbolic. Everybody been locked in the house in COVID. They ain't had nothing to do. And you said this earlier. They ain't had nothing to do. So you done watch everything on Netflix. You done seen every episode of Law and Order. So now what do you watch? Oh, The Last Dance. Oh, Last Dance is off. So let me watch George Floyd die over and over and over. And part of the reason it shifts, RJ, is because when the media decides to talk about something else, everybody talks about something else. The media talked about George Floyd.
We control the media now. That's the difference.
Do we control the media?
Yeah, because where are we getting our news from? And people aren't sitting up watching Channel 7 anymore. They're scrolling Instagram. So if we're posting things, that's the news that they're able to see. Yeah.
Chicken and egg. Because Instagram comes from people being informed by something else.
Yeah, but we are we're being informed by one another. Somebody in Kentucky posts a video and then it goes viral and now we're all watching that, versus what the media used to be was these big wigs or these people are deciding what they're going to push out, and that's the stuff that we're able to consume. And I also think, to go back to the shift in like caring about things that are not in front of you, I feel like I could see a shift to where how Black people have always been villainized in the media. Let me tell you, when I walk past a white woman, I'm thinking, is she a Karen? And that is a shift in the way we perceive people. White women have always appeared to be sweet and demure and petite. And now they look crazy because of what we're seeing on our news, Instagram. And so I feel like you cannot concern yourself with people profiling people and people making judgments about people because it doesn't affect you right now. But if the shift begins and Black people use white guilt and they get positions of power and they get more money and they get more of this, you can very easily go from being the ones that were able to, sit back and not really care, to now you going out and people are judging you everywhere you go.
So let me just say this, because the conversation, the past 10 minutes, we've kind of gone down this rabbit hole. We've identified a lot of issues and a lot of things that impact us as Black people. We started talking about Juneteenth, and we kind of just went all the way down here, which is good. But it kind of further proves my point to say we're talking about Juneteenth. Everybody celebrated, fireworks galore, cookouts. Now what? Do we wait and sit and do nothing for the next year until maybe June 1st of next year and then start hyping up Juneteenth again? What's going to happen between now and next year? Are we going to continue to fight to make this a real holiday? Are we going to get the day off? Are we really going to educate our children? Are we really going to educate everybody about Juneteenth? Yes, like you said, we celebrate our day, but we going to still honor the 4th. So it's like, but again, there's no consistency in what we do and what we fight for. We do it for a couple of months and then we get tired, and then we start focusing on our own individual lives and what we got going and all the stresses that we deal with on a daily basis. And then too, who are our Black leaders current day? Like we had Dr. King, we had Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, we had all of those people back then. Who do we have from the 90s up until now?
So I think you have to consider the context, though. What we will do this time next year is dependent on what happens the rest of this insane year. I mean, this whole year started with a chicken sandwich. And it's just went to hell ever since then. You remember that? People was getting beat up over a chicken sandwich.
Maybe.
So much has happened in 2020, as we talk about like current events and where the world is, that I forgot the president of the United States had been impeached. I totally forgot that happened. You forgot that happened.
Thanks for reminding
me. Just happened. And so when you ask like where will we be this time next year, who knows?
Who knows if we'll even be here? Because I feel the rapture coming. Okay,
Lord Jesus.
What is going on?
I'm gonna tell you this. I
feel like the bowls from Revelation have been poured on us.
I think we are already probably in the tribulation.
We're on the 5th bowl. They done talked about the bees coming. I said, oh, okay, that's another bowl coming.
I heard about the bees.
Well, Dottie Peoples got a song that say, "Get your house in order. Do it today, for Jesus is coming."
Dottie Peoples, man.
Hey, listen. I'm like an old soul. I was growing
probably
up.
Most people watching this have no clue who Dottie Peoples is.
I was a teenager, and that song was on repeat. Listen, all the time. That song got me, even at like 13, 14 years old.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother episode.
I don't know where we go in the next year. I mean, do we keep fighting for Juneteenth? It's so many other things that we have to navigate through when you talk about Black people. That's not even dealing with Americans and the upcoming election. That's not even dealing with humanity and dealing with COVID, that no one seems to be talking about a cure or vaccine or anything for. And so now you got a world that's shifting to a place where everybody's treating this like the flu. They're treating a pandemic like, and then you got half the world that don't believe it's real. Actually, I know we're going to shift because we're going to talk about it. But y'all believe COVID is real? Come on, tell your real answer.
I think it's definitely real, right? So there's definitely a virus.
Real as stated. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a virus and it's serious. I don't think that they know what it is. I don't think they know anything about it, and they've just had to say something. I think that a lot of the measures that we take to protect ourselves are really mental, like the mask and washing your hands consistently all day long. I mean, there's no way to really make sure you aren't going to get it unless you just literally stay in the house and don't leave. I do think that they originally started and led with a lot of fear, and I think they regret it now, because now everybody can get tested, so the numbers look crazy. And I've never agreed with anything that President Trump has said, but when he said, like, if y'all stop testing people, we'll have less positives, like, I know what he was trying to say, and that was, we were not testing like this 3 months ago, and now you can get a test on every corner. I got tested and they sent me 4 disclosures saying there are false positives, there are false negatives, this probably won't be right, it could be wrong. So what's the point? So we don't even know if half the people that are positive are really positive or the people that are negative are really negative. And so it changes every single day. They say you can't smoke weed. They said if you drink, they said
You can't smoke weed.
I've seen so many
What
things.
do weed got to do with COVID?
Maybe your
the
chest.
lungs?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know. I think that it is real, but I don't know if it's.
You can drink?
They said drinking could make it worse. They said everything.
I honestly think COVID is real. I think it was man-made, and I think that there is a cure, because I don't think they ever create any sickness and or disease without having the cure. I think it did get out of control and get out of hand, and it probably wasn't meant to hit as many countries and as it did, and so now they're trying to fix it and backtrack. But I definitely think it's real. But again, I think it's financial. And
Who is they?
They, the government.
Which government?
The man.
The man created.
Which hold on. So, but why would someone create?
I've seen this in a movie.
I've seen it in a movie too.
Maybe for population control.
Yeah.
Because at first it was like only hitting older people.
Lord,
we
here
don't really
y'all
have
go.
Social Security. Here's my conspiracy
So
theory.
the plan becomes kill people, so we don't have to pay people.
I mean, they've killed people for less.
I don't think the intent.
Usually
was,
it's like one
I don't
at
think,
a time, not like mass graves.
I don't think the intent.
Have you met the Native
I don't
Americans?
think the intent was population
Lord.
control. I think the intent was all financial. But then I don't think they thought that it would kill as many people as it did. And so then they began to backtrack. I mean, there's so many YouTube conspiracy theory videos. They even talked about how Dr. Fauci was part of the one back in the 80s and 90s that helped create this. And now he's standing out front trying to talk about a cure and things like that. So again, we really don't know what to believe. Again, they're feeding us what they want to feed us through the news, and you can choose to believe it or not. But again, I think the whole thing with these masks are, and I forget, somebody said it on the news about the masks aren't really to protect people from getting it. It's to keep the ones who got it, to keep it internally.
Right.
And so we're all walking around with masks as if we all have COVID.
But then they say there's the asymptomatic. So then you don't even know if you're walking around. Like, to me, it's just like so much fear. It's like you could feel fine, but you might have it still, and you're giving it to your grandma because that's the way that they're doing it. And now they're saying it's mutating. So now it's a stronger strain. It just feels like a lot of fear.
It's mutating. What does it mutate?
Yeah.
So it flies now or something? What does it do?
No.
It's like what?
No,
what
it's
is
just
it
like
mutating to?
it attaches to cells easier. It's harder to kill. That sort of thing. So you know how like if you get a virus, technically you're not supposed to be able to get it again.
Right.
Like, but if it mutates, then you can, because now it's not the exact same strain.
So now
that's what they're saying.
Are y'all going to get the vaccine? I'm not.
No, I don't.
No, I would be lying to say I would. I wouldn't.
Maybe I would if I got it, but I'm feeling just fine.
But you're talking to somebody who's never had a flu shot.
Well, I
don't
get
get
the
flu shots
faithfully.
either.
I get the flu shot every year.
Oh no, I
See,
never get the
I'm
flu
not
shot.
an anti-vaccine person. I just don't do them because I don't get sick. I've probably been the most sick, closest to sick I've ever been is like, what's some doggone inflammations? No, not my mind. No. The allergy. Them allergy infections, the sinus infection.
Okay.
That thing. That's the most I've ever. You said something wrong with your mind. Actually, depending on who you ask, they might be like something wrong. He's sick in the head. But yeah, that's the most I've never. So it's not. I'm anti-vaccines. I just have never gotten one, and I don't intend to get one.
I'm not getting one because they don't even know what this thing is. For every day them to come on the TV and say something different, you think I'm about to let you inject something in me? You don't even know what this virus is? No, I'll get it in 10 years when it's tested, tried, and true.
Like, is that gonna work? We gonna find out.
No, man, won't be me.
We gonna know in 7 minutes.
Right.
Just sit still.
And then in 5 years, they'll be like, you know what? Everybody that got the vaccine is infertile or some weird effect, and they don't know. Oh, no. I'll let other people get it.
So, okay, I know we're going to have to wrap up soon, but so this is the question. Do we just let it run its course, or do we push for Juneteenth to be a holiday? Because we went all the way from Juneteenth to there. So that's
I think Juneteenth definitely needs to be a holiday. I think that America was built on the backs of black people. There is no America without black people. There should be a holiday. There should be multiple. We should talk about the freedom of black people. It should be a national holiday for us to celebrate all of these tyrants and murderers. There's no reason why we wouldn't celebrate the liberation of black people.
She done called them tyrants and
I think that it's been very interesting to see all of these statues coming down for murderers, and that we had to even argue about a Confederate flag. You lost, and you have a flag flying. Since when does the loser have statues? So yes, I think it needs to be a holiday.
In the NBA, they actually do Eastern Conference Finals and Western Conference Finals winners.
Well, that's dead. Get them things down, and I'm happy they tearing them down.
Well, let's ask our viewers about Juneteenth. So we want you guys to email us at the email address that's on your screen and let us know, are we doing Juneteenth or the 4th of July? Email us your votes. Let us know what you think.
There's so much happening in our world today. 2020 has been tumultuous, full of ups and downs. And many of you now get to experience what has been historically the black experience in America. It is a life full of having to deal with one catastrophe after the next. It is having to deal with one day you are fighting for a chicken sandwich, something as simple as that. To the next day, you're mourning the death of a great revered person. To the next day, you have to deal with now your life is turned upside down by some sickness, some ailment, and you are now restricted, confined to places that you have not usually been restricted and confined to. To add to that, now you have a boiling point, a tipping point reached, in which we see explosiveness in terms of the reaction to George Floyd and things that are happening. It has been one catastrophe after the next. And I really would just hope that many of you who have not known the black experience would understand that that is what we've experienced so much. We have to deal with one thing after the next. We have to deal with struggles with food, healthy and unhealthy. We have to deal with the consistent loss of people that are important to us. We have to deal with consistently being restricted and confined to places by invisible barriers that were not our creation. And we have to deal with, on top of that, consistently fighting against the own explosion that is inside of us from the anger, from the pain and the hurt that we deal with consistently. And so if I can leave you with anything today, it would be consider for just a second all the things that many others have had to fight through, and maybe, just maybe, put yourself in their shoes. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here for this episode of 1320 Stuff. Peace.